See, what AI and vampires have in common is an enormous hunger for data. They can't get enough, and there's not enough to feed them in the world. Well, maybe vampires have enough people. They don't need that much blood. But the comparison is still there. The vampire takes without asking. Vampires need blood. AI needs data. So is training, AI training, is that like feeding or is that like learning? That line that we're drawing in the sand for copyright is so key because if it's feeding like a vampire, then it's not really giving back to the society it's taking from. And if it's learning, that's where copyright law should not apply, at least according to Japan. Some other countries, the US, not so much, but we're in the early days of figuring out what copyright law is in every country. And is that inability to say AI is learning and just knee jerk reaction and say it's feeding on what we have a way to stop it or a normal human impulse to things like vampires? Vampires, not real. AI is real, even though we really can't see what it is. So it made me wonder, has there been an artist who was caught using AI to their advantage? Because we know a lot of people have been caught copying and things like that. Has somebody actually gone out there? And I found a story about this Chinese digital artist named Yuumei. And in 2024 at the Anime Expo, that's what Yuumei's specialty is, these really brilliant, bright colors, really soft images, just very unique. If you're watching a video, you can see them. So she is at this and somebody purchases a piece of her work. This is how she makes a living. And they look at it and they say, this was AI generated. And of course, there's becomes this big social media argument, standing up, saying stuff back and forth, claiming that this famous digital artist was using AI or not. And it turns out that she, when things were figured out, had traced a competitor or a collaborator in art called Ask and did it so close to what Ask's image was that that was called over-referencing. She returned the money, game was over. But it wasn't AI. But think about what that vampire-like fear just did to somebody. Here's somebody well-known, very successful. You have to respect her work when you take a look at it. This is good stuff. And they accuse her of AI because AI becomes that fear. I'm being cheated. Do you see where that like amplifies? And everything we look at now, we wonder, is that real? And that could actually be for all the people pushing critical thinking with AI, it might be one of the best outcomes. People actually question what they see. But to you listening, is it really that simple? Are we just having to question everything? Yes is the answer, but isn't it funny how the more famous you become, the more likely we'll accuse you of using AI? And why is accusing someone of AI like accusing them of doing something wrong? Okay, in this case, it was an artist who's selling a piece of work. If it was AI generated, that would be a false representation. But what was really happening was it was a false accusation driven by the fact that we all wonder, is it AI or is it human? And I'm going to tell you, I think that's where the real ending of this happens when we start realizing it's not an either or world, it's human and AI. So here's the AI copyright paradox, in the US at least. All the data that's been taken in, how are you going to get it out? What sort of money? It pales to any other challenge we have is if this happens and say, we have to say okay to put copyrightable content in, all those billions of contributors of articles, images, music, all have to be notified. It's not only not realistic, it's sort of sad. And I want AI engineers to understand why creators feel this way. It was a drive-by to them. It was not something that they were said they had a say in. It was something that just happened to them.